What's up, my dudes? You know the old rut tester had to come back and give you another one. I wasn't going to leave you high and dry. This track's pretty dry, though. Let's take a look. We got her set on maximum laps. Okay, so this is the old canyon with the catapult in it. Okay, gotta love those nice little, sun effects in these games. Definitely brings that immersion into it a little bit. Whoa, boy, this game. Man, these little, these motion blur effects in this game make you feel like you're about to blast off to another dimension here. Gets a little insane when you're used to playing like Untamed, Unleashed, and stuff like that. Oh, man. Reflex don't even have this much of a motion. Oh, there you go, Spency boy. Yeah. I was trying to drag the foot pegs a little too hard there. Oh, by the way, just wanted to let you guys know, be sure you got that notification bell hit for my channel. If you want all of my notifications, obviously you don't have to. I know it gets pretty annoying when those YouTubers say, be sure and hit that like, favorite, and subscribe, and be sure and text me on my phone and do this, and that. Gets a little annoying, right? I always try to keep it a minimum when I talk about anything like that, but when it comes to the notification bell, it's so important because YouTube will literally not even notify you of my videos when you're just subscribed to my channel. There's times where they will not do that. I've seen it for my own self. I've literally seen it with people that I know that are subscribed to me that do not get my notifications. So if you don't have that notification bell hit at the front of my channel and all notifications turned on with it, it's like you're not even actually subscribed. It's insane. So I just wanted to say, if you want to do that, be sure and take a look at that because that really helps the channel out. Notification bell is a big deal nowadays with YouTube because it's like the actual subscribe button. But anyways, so yeah. And I also just want to say I appreciate all the support you guys still clicking on these videos after all these years. It's insane. It's literally the reason why I still do it. I mean, obviously I love this shit. Motocross gaming is like my thing, right? And I would still do it if there was no money or anything like that involved with it, just because of how much I love playing these games and talking about them and stuff. But the fans coming back and the views and, everybody commenting and everything like that, it's definitely what keeps you going on it for sure. So this map right here is pretty interesting. This track, we're not on Call of Duty here, Spence. Oh, man, you can almost hit a fatty line right there. I was sucking down that tea, got a little cough action going. Okay, where are we on? Lap 3 here? Nice how it got the shadows on like half of this track as well. Then it's like just blazing sunset. Man, Alive is probably one of the closest like stock track designs I can draw back to that are the closest to like the Reflex stock tracks, and the Reflex stock tracks in my opinion are the absolute best. But there's still some stock tracks on Alive that are what you would call legendary to the MX versus ATV series for sure. Obviously, the James Stewart compound on Alive may be the best MX versus ATV track ever from the developer, what I'm talking about here, right? And trust me, I love me some Sandwick and some Razorback and some, Fort Dodge Round 2 and all that crap. But, you just can't deny the James Stewart compound. If they would have made, I know I've talked about this before in videos, but if they would have made that, full-blown from the developer level James Stewart compound for Reflex with the Reflex stock track kind of style, oh my God, bro. If I could have anything I ever wanted for Christmas, that would be it right there. Oh, hey, guys, we're just going to release a DLC for Reflex, Just a little James Stewart compound for Reflex made by the original Reflex stock track creators. Oh, my God, bro. I know they've made, a Reflex custom track for the PC version, but that's not even the same animal as what I'm talking about here. So Damn, that was a missed opportunity. That would have been so cool. But it's just like, dude, like if you prefer this kind of terrain deformation system over Reflex on Sandwick, I don't even know like what to tell you. Nothing I can possibly tell you is ever going to change your mind at that point. Cause I mean, this ain't even close to that. This ain't even in the same dimension as that. But this is obviously better than like those newer Milestone games deformation system that's literally nothing. You know, there's definitely levels to this animal here for sure. I just think Reflex is above and beyond, man. It's not just a little better than Alive. It's not just a little bit better than these newer Milestone games. I think it's like infinitely better. That's how much better I think Reflex actually is. It's infinitely better. And it's not to say these games don't have their good qualities and their fun little, you know, feelings and elements to them, because they definitely do. But dude, this is definitely making more deformation than the Piston Valley track for sure. You can actually feel it in these corners. This is more like what I remember in my head of the actual Alive deformation. This is kind of what it is right here. Like similar to Reflex, but not as sturdy of ruts, you know? Similar to Reflex, but not as big, or where you can actually feel the ruts quite as much or affect the bike quite as much as it does in Reflex. It is crazy when you get on there with the full gate of people on a Supercross track on Reflex. It'll literally make it where you can't even hit the same rhythms that you normally would. That's how much it ruts up the track. It ain't really going to do that on Alive, on any track in this game. It's not really going to rut it up enough physically to actually make it to where you can't hit a certain rhythm that you would normally hit. I mean, come on, bro. It ain't to that level, you know? And trust me, I don't want it to be to that level on lap 5, but like when you run a 30-lap race with a full gate of people, it should probably be getting pretty close to being muffed up enough to where it'll change the rhythms you can actually hit, you know? So you can definitely feel it, and it's definitely affecting the jump faces here, which is a really good thing. You know, it's good when it can actually make that deformation make... Ooh, look at that. Kind of dug into that inside rut a little bit there. It's a really good thing when it can actually make, like, change the face of the jumps a little bit versus just making ruts in the corners, you know? One thing I noticed that it doesn't really do much in this game is actually make roughness. That's kind of seems like part of the element that seems to be somewhat cut out here. Like, if you ride on Sandwick on Reflex with 30 dudes, or I mean, I said 30 dudes, 30 laps with the full gate of people, it's literally going to make the track like 2 or 3 times as rough once you get right about that 10 to 20 lap mark than it would be on the first lap. It actually makes braking bumps and acceleration bumps on the track with just the deformation. You know what I'm saying? And it just doesn't really have that same sort of characteristic to the terrain deformation of Alive. I just don't really feel that roughness and, you know, real solid braking bump development. I just don't really feel that with Alive's terrain deformation here. But yeah, man. I mean, that is just crazy how that all went down. I've heard all kinds of stories like they lost the files to the original Reflex or couldn't access them because it was a different team. So they kind of had to like build it from scratch in a sense. I don't know what all went down, but like, dude, there's really no excuse to go from the way, you know, Unleashed and Untamed was, and then to go to how good Reflex was and how much of a next step that Reflex was, to then go backwards a step like how Alive is, and then to continue to step backwards and do a damn Michael Jackson moonwalk backwards and go to MX vs. ATV Supercross content and everything. The shitty, you got to pay for every little DLC, and we're going to tell you we're going to come out with the whole Motocross series, and then we don't, and all this horse shit. You know, and they started splitting the worlds. You know what I'm saying? MX vs. ATV Alive should have had every track that was in MX vs. ATV Supercross in it when it came out, like straight up. That's what they did. They just took the DLC that was gonna be like, you know, oh, you only pay half the money for Alive, but then you can choose to buy the full Supercross series later. No, instead of doing that like they said they were going to, they just chose to cut all that out and put it into the next game and make it a whole different game. So instead of getting that, you know, Reflex 2 level game that you expected, instead you got Alive, and then you got MX vs. ATV Supercross, and then they felt bad, so then they made MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore. That's what really went down with all that. It was a disaster. It was a mistake. There's just no doubt about it. I don't know if it was, you know, kind of getting into that, trying to do the microtransactions like the rest of the games were doing at the time. I don't know what caused that, but man, that killed off the MX vs. ATV series. I swear, like, if they would have made a genuine successor to Reflex whenever Alive came out, dog, like, are you kidding me? It would have been a whole nother discussion if that would have happened. But we can't change the past. It is what it is, and they're trying to do better. You know, we got MX vs. ATV All Out with the proper kind of content, proper DLC, and we'll see what they do with the next MX vs. ATV game, and that's all we can really do. So, but it still nonetheless is an insane thing when you look back at how much of an advancement Reflex really was for the franchise, and then how much of that they haven't really made an advancement on since then, you know? They've certainly taken steps backwards heavily, but you still haven't seen really an advancement from Reflex, really, even when you go to All Out. I mean, that's not really an advancement to anything that we saw in Reflex. You know, and Reflex was like the most advancement you could possibly make, going from Untamed to Reflex. I mean, it's like two completely different worlds. But, yeah, you see the deformation there. Got ruts going up the face of this. That's a cool little jump, being able to hit that off to the left and jump all the way down in those little whoops. Those little whoop-de-doo rollers. But, yeah, definitely ruts everywhere. Not affect some of the jump faces. It's not affecting quite as much. Definitely. Kind of like that little outside berm right there. Whoa, Spency boy. You can get going some crazy speed going down this hill. Definitely like the elevation change on this track. Nice little, you can carry all that speed from the hill like another 6 more sections. You know, it's kind of cool how they lined all that up there. All right, boys, we're getting in a little bit of a cluster here. A little bit of a cluster here. Okay. Working through the pack. Just riding my own race out here. Getting through the lap traffic. All right. Kind of almost digging a rut on the outside of that corner. But, like, even still, even though there's some inside ruts in a couple corners, it's not like you're going to go in there and really bank off of it like you think you're going to. You know, it ain't like diving into a big-ass deformed rut on Sandwick on Reflex full throttle, like you're not even going to hit the corner, but the rut fully turns the bike in the corner physically. It's, you know, that's a whole nother level of deformation right there, bro. Whole nother level. This is definitely more physical than the new Milestone games, but not as physical as Reflex. Kind of somewhere in that mid-range there. I don't think this is doing as physical as MX vs. ATV All Out after they added the update to their deformation. That's the weird thing talking about All Out, is when it originally came out is very different with the deformation than when after they come out that update. But yeah, this is definitely not making as hard ruts, you know, physical ruts as what you would see on All Out there if you go play it today. But yeah, man, we'll see what she does here. I think we're about seeing what it's going to do before it starts to smooth back out, right? But yeah, I don't know what the game design decision was about kind of toning back the deformation from Reflex to this game. I don't really know why they would have wanted to do that exactly. I felt like like with Reflex, I feel like it changes the track just enough, but not too much. That's what I feel like with the deformation on Reflex. And the fact that like it'll do a lot more on the sand tracks than it will on the dry hard pack tracks. I love the variation of the deformation depending on what kind of track you're on. That's really what I feel like makes Reflex take the cake when you start talking about the deformation. Kind of cool that it's like a track literally on the side of the Grand Canyon. At least that's what it looks like. That's a cool little vibe. I have to admit, that is definitely cool seeing all that off in the distance. I don't know of any other motocross track that's built literally on the side of the Grand Canyon, so that's certainly a cool little idea for a track design, to say the least. Okay, we got to be on like lap, I don't even know what at this point, 15, something like that, 15, 20. Down there, 15, brother. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I like the momentum feeling of Reflex better than I do Alive. Alive has a little more of that like stop and go feel, and kind of like if you're going over rollers or anything that's not smooth, it just kind of seems to grog the bike down momentum-wise, unless you already have a shitload of momentum stirred up, right? Whereas Reflex, it's more like a free-flowing momentum system. So like when you're hitting rollers on Reflex, yeah, it may kick your ass over the bars, but it's not just going to sit there and slowly slow the bike down to a halt, you know? Whereas Alive, if you just hit like this endless roller section, even if you're wide open, it's just going to slow the bike down. It's just going to slow your momentum down. So I prefer Reflex's more free momentum feeling to it. And of course, you got to have some kind of momentum loss when you come up short or you do whatever. And I feel like Reflex still has that, but it just feels better in the like when you go over whoops, rollers, you know, that sort of feel I prefer. And it's weird because like even on Alive, sometimes when you barely overjump something or barely come up short on something, not even enough to really where it should affect the bike in an arcade motocross game, it still slows your momentum down. That's what developed the whole clutch boosting trick to Alive, which I'm not even using right now because I don't give a shit. But that's what developed that, because every time you'd land, your momentum would just disappear in this game, regardless if you landed good or not. You know, whereas Reflex, it's like, even if you overjump something, it's not going to be such a impact to your momentum. It's I don't know, very hard to explain if you don't really play both these games quite a bit. But, yeah, dog. That's about it for this video. I mean, they're not really going to do a whole lot more than what it's done here. Jumping way down the hill, bro. Whoa. Whoa. Oh, my God. How did I just save that? Anyway, he's going to sneak up the inside. Ooh, that was a fast line. Holy shit. That was the fast line. Okay, now we're getting that rhythm figured out a little bit. That's really the only thing that's going to prevent you from hitting any kind of rhythm in this game is that weird super loss of momentum feeling. That's why if you ride on the Supercross tracks in the James Stewart compound of this game, that's why it's so hard to get around those tracks, the Supercross tracks, because it's like just so slower pace because of how much momentum you lose. And obviously, the more one-to-one scaling Supercross track design makes it a little more tricky with all of that when you're going that slow, because the corners are so tight, so short of a run-in to the jump faces. But, yeah, bro, got Team Kawasaki here. All right. Ooh! They still kept the Reflex, you know, where you can turn the stick a certain way, and the Reflex save system, you know, where you can kind of save yourself from crashing. That was another interesting little thing they added to Reflex. I think it was perfectly implemented in Reflex too, because like there's still times on Reflex where you're going to crash no matter what. If you hit a 300-foot jump on Reflex to flat, you're going to go down. but they give you a little bit of that in between sometimes when you're about to have one of those weird ass like MXGP type pop-offs. They give you that opportunity to kind of save it, you know, but it doesn't feel like a dumb system of you can just save every single almost crash that you have. I don't know, dude. They just perfectly implemented that in a gameplay sense into Reflex, in my opinion. But yeah, man. Whoa. I don't know what the hell I just hit. Hit a damn gopher hole out here. I don't know what that was. But, yeah, this is about the kind of ruts you're going to see. It's more of a berm builder, like a inside berm builder, than it is a rut builder. You know, kind of more of that, like a berm builder, and then let's cut down the face of some of these jump faces. It's more of that kind of terrain deformation system than an actual, like, okay, it built 3 ruts in this corner and roughness going into this corner. It's not really that level of a terrain deformation system, but it's definitely enough to you know, be more interesting than just not having a terrain deformation system on the track at all. But it's not going to affect the bike like it would on Reflex, you know. So that's about what she comes down to here. Oh, it's kind of digging in the ground a little more there, you could see. Right in that little area where it got a little flatter. Kind of that little single jump over the hill there. And I just don't know why they went backwards with the whole seat bounce thing in this game either. I'm really confused about that. I thought they had it perfect in Reflex. They took away the old school, you know, flicking your thumbstick every time you come off a jump face, and implemented a even better system where there is no actual seat bounce button, but you can still seat bounce the bike if you know what you're doing. Oh, God, man. Reflex is just unbelievable. It really is. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. See you boys on that next one. Later, dudes.